In recent years, men's style and accessories have blossomed into a mega industry. More and more men are using accessories to enhance their style and up their game than ever before. And it's never been more acceptable for men to use these accessories for style and fashion purposes as opposed to more practical ones. Hundreds and thousands of years ago, men would accessorize for the purpose of denoting social status. Jewels, precious metals, and rare materials were used as a means of communicating one's place in society. Nowadays, men's accessories can be used as a way of denoting one's social status, as well as just general affiliations, or even for the sole purpose of making a fashion choice that enhances a man's wardrobe. Today we want to talk about the most common accessories that the modern man has available to him, as well as the general rules behind these modern day accessories so you can get a great idea of how to look for accessories for yourself and how to wear them stylishly. More specifically, today we're going to be talking about glasses, we're going to be talking about watches, bracelets, necklaces, and rings. So let's jump right in. Hey guys, my name is Austin for Volt Life Proof Grooming. Today we're talking about how to accessorize as a man, the do's and don'ts that come with that, and we're going to jump right in with glasses. So glasses right next to watches are going to be by far the most common accessories that you spot on a man. They are functional, they're fashionable, and they're versatile enough for everyone to get in on the action. So here are some do's and don'ts of wearing glasses stylishly in the modern day and age. Number one is to choose frames that fit your face shape. Large glasses and small glasses, they kind of are trendy things. They go in and out of style. It's always best and safe to choose a set of glasses that fit your face very well. I get that everyone's face and facial features are unique, and so a lot of times the only way to find frames that are really going to fit you and make you feel good to wear is to go out to a local shop that sells glasses and try a bunch of them on. Get other people's opinions. Don't be afraid to take a friend, one who's not afraid to be honest with you. It's going to be important that you find frames that naturally fit your face. And that brings me nicely to my second point, which is don't wear sunglasses indoors. Do I have to say it? Next, you're going to want to choose glasses based on the formality of the occasion in which you wear them. Certain materials that glasses are made of are going to carry certain formality levels. For example, you probably wouldn't want to wear wooden frame glasses if you're wearing a tuxedo. You're gonna have to keep your fashion in mind, you're gonna have to keep your style in mind, and you're gonna have to watch out for those special occasions. Let's move on to the next most common, maybe even more common than glasses, watches. Watches are such a common staple now in the men's fashion industry that I know many men whose watches actually cost more than the entire rest of their outfits. And so here are some tips on choosing the best watch for you and how to wear it awesomely. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is to watch your size. See what I did there? Different watches are going to have different size faces and dials. For example, if I took this one out here, this is probably a 45mm watch. Quite large. I have kind of tiny wrists, so this probably wouldn't look as good on me as, let's say, this watch, which has a 38mm dial. Okay, just look at the difference that makes. The next step to choosing the right watch for you is to not neglect your style. Just like sunglasses and just like most of the accessories that you're going to choose, you want to take a look at what you often wear and what is going to complement that, as well as the formality of the occasion. You probably shouldn't wear a G-Shock watch if you're wearing a tuxedo, and you probably shouldn't wear a Rolex at the gym. Next tip is to wear your watch on whatever wrist you want. A lot of people say, oh no, watches have to be worn on your left wrist. That's just the way the man does it. You have to wear. No. Traditionally, watches were worn on your left wrist because men who were right-handed, more commonly the right-handed men, often do things with their right hand and they want to avoid damaging their watch. That's why they say often left-handed men should wear watches on their right hand. But you can wear a watch on whatever wrist you want. It really makes no difference, and most modern watches can handle the abuse. And the last and final tip I have for wearing watches is to try and match either the leathers or the metals of the watch. If you wear a lot of silver jewelry, like we're going to talk about later when we get into bracelets, necklaces, and rings, then chances are you're going to want a silver-faced watch. And likewise, if you wear a lot of black leather, then a black leather band might be good for you. Just keep in mind that generally this is less important on watches than it is on the rest of your outfit, like belts and shoes. Alright, let's move on to bracelets. Bracelets have long been worn by men and women for many different reasons, and nowadays they are fairly common. When it comes to bracelets, you're going to want to keep it simple. That junior high bracelet you wore with the the 3-inch long leather band with studs all the way around probably just isn't going to work for the modern style unless you are fully subscribed to that metalhead look. In which case, sure, fine. You know, you're dedicated to it, that's fine. But keep it classy. So when it comes to bracelets, you get some leniency here. You can mix materials pretty well. You can have a simple, thin leather bracelet with beads on it. You can have a metal bracelet. You can mix and match some of them. But the next tip is to not neglect your watch. If your watch is one style, and let's say it's a more modern watch, fashion forward is the term I like to use, then what you want to make sure is that you don't use bracelets that are going to completely neglect that kind of style. For example, if I was wearing this all silver watch with a silver band, then I might want to wear an all silver bracelet. If my watch had a leather band, I might want to go for a leather bracelet or something a similar color. Just keep in mind that whatever you decide to wear on your wrists is pretty noticeable since it's at the end of your arms. And so try and put some thought into what is going to mix and match well together. All right, now let's move on to necklaces. I don't really have any necklaces here to show you since necklaces just really aren't my style personally, but necklaces or chains, as they are commonly referred to in the men's fashion space, are probably more common accessories than bracelets, but not as common as watches or glasses. Generally, necklaces and chains are more often used to demonstrate some kind of wealth or class, especially if it's a chain, because chains are commonly made of either gold or some kind of precious metal. So when it comes to necklaces, the biggest point I have for you is to keep it classy, okay? You don't want to look like one of those rappers from the 90s that has that huge clock on their neck, because any kind of large chain, any kind of large fashion statement like that is going to be part of a trend and send a very, very specific message that if you're going for it, then fine. But generally, trends come and go. Certain things that are classy and timeless are what I prefer. Now, one thing when it comes to necklaces is to not disregard length. A longer necklace or chain is going to be much more noticeable than a tighter, more fit necklace or chain. Another good thing to do with necklaces is to layer necklaces. If you have necklaces of multiple lengths and you're trying to give off that certain aesthetic, or let's say you're trying to go for the really rocker kind of vibe, then you can wear multiple different necklaces of different lengths and they give off a really cool kind of cascading effect. The key here is to make sure that each of those necklaces is pretty simple. Otherwise, they're all gonna look off balance with each other. Okay, now we're gonna be talking about rings. Rings are becoming more and more socially acceptable on men once again. The reason I say once again is because in medieval times, rings were often used to denote class or have some kind of higher function. And they were more often worn on nobility, on men, than on women. For example, old kings would wear signet rings or signet rings, however you pronounce it, that they would use to dip in wax and seal letters with their sign or with their stamp. Those are becoming less and less common. You can still see them on like English monarchs. And if like me, you have lineage and family from England, then chances are you do have a crest and you can put it on a signet ring if you'd like. Which brings me to my first point, and that is this. Wear rings that have some kind of meaning to you. The point is, rings are on one of the most noticeable parts of your body, your fingers. Your fingers are what you use to communicate if you're like me and you use your hands a lot. And anytime you reach for something, you're sticking your hand out there, and they go past bracelets in terms of the range you get where people notice them. Which means that it's often a conversation starter, which is always why it's nice to have a meaning behind the rings, or so that you can use that as a way of justifying why you should wear them all the time with confidence. Now, here's something I will say about rings that I think is kind of important to me and my style, but maybe not important to everyone. But I think that when it comes to rings, you shouldn't mix metals as much. You can get away with mixing metals on bracelets. Necklaces are kind of so-so, but rings, I don't think you should really mix metals that much. And that's only because they are in such close proximity to each other. Unless you're on different hands entirely, it'll look kind of unbalanced. So I like to keep my rings all silver because silver works best with my skin tone, and it just matches my watch, and it makes it so that I can wear whatever I want. The next thing about rings is to wear them with confidence. There is still somewhat of a stigma around a man who wears rings, especially if you're wearing an outfit that doesn't exactly support that look or that aesthetic. For example, I'm kind of a classic rock kind of guy, so if I wear my leather jacket, then chances are I'm gonna wear a good amount of rings, and I do that when I play shows, with the band, I do that pretty much everywhere. But if I were wearing something a little more formal, if I were wearing, let's say, a suit for a job interview, do not wear that many rings. It gives off a message of gaudiness. Wedding rings obviously are fine. Signet rings or signet rings you can probably get away with if you're wearing a suit or something like that because they are denotions of class. But any kind of crazy fashion ring like this lion I have on my front finger is not gonna fly during a job interview or any kind of formal occasion. Which brings me to my last and final point, which is don't be needlessly excessive. Chances are you just don't need to go that much. People will get the message even if you wear just 2 or 3 rings. So hopefully with these style tips you guys learn a little bit more or get some info on what modern fashion is like for these kind of style accessories. So if you guys like this video, please hit like and subscribe. Give me a comment if you think there's something I missed, or maybe you just blatantly disagree with me in general. Then leave us a comment. I'd love to read more about it. Is there something you think I've missed that maybe to you is completely fashionable, maybe part of your culture that I'm not considering? We'd love to hear it. Smash that bell icon so you'll be notified every time we post another cool video, and we will have tons more out for you coming on this Volt channel. I've been Austin for Volt Life Proof Grooming. I will see you in the next video.